Hello, hello. Oh, let's see. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, there we go. Hello, hello, hello. Good, good. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Hello, Everett.
Speaking.
How you doing? We got about
All
two.
right.
We got about 2 minutes before we go. We got 2 minutes before we go live. And
All right. Charles, are you in the Chicago area?
yeah, I am.
Okay, I think we've done two interviews before, right?
Mm, I don't. I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've talked to you before.
All
You,
right.
you work with
Oh yeah.
With Michelle Owens, right?
I yes, I do.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's what I thought. Yeah, I talked to Michelle. Used to talk to her quite a bit last year. But look, we got
Right.
another minute. I got a couple of things to clean up. I'll put you on mute, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay.
Oh, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You see that black boy over there running scared? His old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5. He drink full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared. His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman waiting for bottom.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to the Reality Check with Charles Butler. And little Gil Scott Heron opened the show talking about being in the bottle. See, Gil Scott was talking about social justice, what they call social justice reform. Social justice reform, long before it was called social justice reform. So, as we start the show, get into the show today is, well, I'm just going to tell the date. We usually don't tell the dates because we run the shows, like they're live, and I'm not going to tell the date. So, how about that? But we have with us today a gentleman that I have a great deal of respect for and admire for the work that he's done and that he's doing. Work that I would like to pursue, and we are pursuing in a different stage here in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area, and hopefully they can help us, is the president of the Center for Prosecutor Integrity, Mr. Everett Bartlett. We talk about these prosecutors and how they conduct themselves outside and above the law, and not only prosecutors but judges. So Mr. Bartlett's group is going after prosecutors and holding them accountable, and we are going after judges to hold them accountable. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bartlett. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Charles?
Outstanding, outstanding. And as we listen to this thing about criminal justice reform, one of the things I often asked uh, black politicians is, why do you think black Americans want black criminals back in their community? It's just the most amazing thing to me that, these people who go to jail, the majority of these people who go to jail are predators. They're criminals. You don't go to prison because you're not a career criminal. Let's be clear. You don't go to prison because you had one or two slip ups. You have a criminal record when they put you in prison, usually. So, or you've committed a very serious crime. I had the opportunity, I don't know if you know this or not, but Mr. Bartlett, I went to University of Michigan. I graduated from University of Michigan, and I read that exoneration report that you had put up on your map about exonerations. And it's really interesting the kind of states that have people who have been wrongly accused and put into the system. And they look like, as I was going through these states a couple of hours ago, there were a lot of blue states, man. There were a lot of blue states that just kind of blew me away.
Well, Charles, any way you look at it, this is an issue that does blow me away. It blows away a lot of people. Yesterday was wrongful conviction day, and this is an event. There was events all over the country asking the fundamental question: why are people who are innocent being charged, convicted, and sentenced for crimes they did not convict? And this is not just a very rare occurrence. This is occurring a lot.
It is.
And as you said, it's not just in one city. It's not just in, Republican areas or just Democrat. This is really a broad-based problem. Mm-hmm. And, Chicago has had its problems with local prosecutors. I'm aware of that as much as you are. But again, it's not just Chicago.
Right.
It's across the country. There is no accountability for prosecutors who take shortcuts.
Well, we had something here, and I'm sure that you've run across this. It were these prosecutors that withheld information, fabricated evidence against a group of people here. We call them DuPage 7. Do you know what the DuPage 7 is doing now? These were prosecutors. You know what they're doing now? They're judges. They're judges.
Okay.
Wait a minute, man.
Yeah.
These were people who should be censured from ever walking into a courtroom again. They're judges. They're sitting judges. They're hypocrites. They're criminal. They break the very tenets of the legal system. Justice was not blind for these prosecutors. They fabricated information on innocent people to convict them and put them in jail. And nothing happens to these people. And I am to the point myself. I am to the point, whether it's judges or prosecutors, because they all have this little cabal going. And it's like, once you're in the cabal, it's like you're above the fray. It's like Hillary Clinton. Anybody and everyone knows that you cannot destroy evidence. This woman, not only, they talk about the 35,000 emails, they destroyed computers, they destroyed cell phones. You can't do. Jim Comey should be in jail for what he did, for what he's done. And it's just outrageous. But as Jeff Sessions said, the sitting attorney general at the time, well, we can't go after Hillary Clinton because she's a former first lady. What the hell? It's like saying, well, we can't look at George Washington's slaves and who he fathered, the children that he fathered, because he was the first president of the United States. What does that have to do with him screwing these women? And he has this family tree out there that happens to be black.
Right. So Charles, you've touched on a lot of important issues here, but let's go back to this concept of withholding evidence. And there's actually a technical legal term. It's called Brady evidence. And prosecutors are ethically required, to share evidence with the defense counsel that could show the defendant to be innocent. Well, the sad truth is, a lot of times prosecutors withhold that evidence, mm-hmm. But the story gets even more outrageous because even when it's learned that they withheld this evidence, and even when judges put this into their opinion, saying, naughty, naughty, prosecutor, you did not fulfill your ethical duty, in almost no cases do prosecutors have pay any consequences. And as you just said about the DuPage 7, sometimes they're actually promoted to become judges. And it's not just the Chicago area that's happened in California in cases I'm aware of, but it really speaks to, let's call it the corruption.
Right.
The corruption of the system, the lack of accountability, especially with prosecutors. And you may have heard about Brian Banks. His movie is out right now, and he was a guy who was a up and coming potential NFL football player.
I remember that. Yep.
He was still in high school in
Right.
Southern California. He was accused of rape of a fellow classmate in the school, and think of the word being railroaded. He truly was railroaded. And he ended up doing time, hard time. He came out, and his accuser, her name was Juanetta Gibson. She sent him a Facebook message saying, "Let's let pastimes be gone." So he responded. He said, "Yeah, I'd like to get together with you," but he sent his detective instead, who had a camera. And so the detective actually recorded her admitting that she completely fabricated the rape allegation. So here's Brian Banks. His life has been ruined by a false allegation, and a prosecutor who did not look for any corroboration, any physical evidence. A man was convicted and sent to jail merely on the basis of one person's word.
Well, that's not the first time that that's happened. I mean, you look at Emmett Till. He was killed because this white woman lied, and she even said she lied. She's still living. I hope she burns in hell. And I've said that. I'll say that to her face. I hope she burns in hell. I'm not the forgiving. We're gonna bury. Oh, hell no. I'm not into that. These people, especially these women. I say this, and I say this with all certainty and honesty, and from research, Everett. Every major race riot we've had in this country started because a white woman lied or police brutality, police misconduct. Every last one of these riots, whether it's Watts, whether it's the riots in 1919, whether it's riots in 1945, these race riots started around those two factors, one of those two factors. And I remember once a white woman ran in the back of me with a big pickup truck. I had a Porsche. She ran right to the back of me. Bam. And I pulled over, and she said, well, I didn't do any damage. I said, well, yeah, you did. You crumbled the underside of my undercarriage. She said, no, I didn't do that. That was already there. I said, well, let's call the police. You know what she said to me? She looked me in the eye, and she did not blink. She said, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you?
And actually, that's exactly what they said to Brian Banks. The prosecutor said almost exactly those words, and I mean, I think he was 17 years old when this happened,
right? And
he was given this plea deal. They didn't even allow his parents to be part of the discussion, and so here's a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, but his parents
who has to decide, whether to accept a plea deal or go for a jury. And the prosecutor said exactly what you said.
I had that happen to me I picked up a lady who was hitchhiking on the side of the road. I didn't know she was a prostitute. I just thought I was being a good Samaritan. This has been broad daylight, 3:00 in the afternoon. Pick her up, take her to the freeway. I said, well, look, I'm getting ready to go home. This is the freeway I'm taking. I'm letting you out. She said, well, what are you going to do? I said, what do you mean? What am I going to do? I'm going home and change for an event tonight. She said, well, you pick me up. You know what? I know what you want. I said, I don't want anything but for you to get out of my car. She wouldn't get out of my car, Everett. So I drove to the police station, which was about half a mile away. I pull into the parking lot. She turns to me. She's a good-looking white woman. Good-looking white woman. She says, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you. My heart started racing. I got short of breath because I had to get through this parking lot with the police, and I didn't want to hit a police car or anything, right? And man, I got out of the police parking lot. I went down the street to one of my sales offices at Hewlett Packard, drove around the back, took the key out of the ignition, opened her door, said, either get out or I'm pulling you out. I mean, that was the last time, I'm serious, it's the last time I ever picked up a hitchhiker. I won't do it anymore. So anyway, but
Right.
listen, so, you're talking about the criminal system here, and
Right.
you say here that you said I say this is someone you've read innumerable studies about the role of race and gender in the criminal justice system, and you have expertise to assess such studies. Well, let me offer this and put this on the table. What about the civil law? I mean, I've gone into civil court and gotten screwed because the judge, I remember I went into a situation where I was defending myself pro se, and I said two sentences after the opposing counsel's opening statement. I said two sentences in response to his opening statement. The judge stopped me and said, "Mr. Butler, I think you're being very disingenuous. I think you're disingenuous."
Right. Which is a nice way of saying you're a liar.
Exactly.
So everything you're saying, Charles, of course is true. And unfortunately, we have a narrative in our country, and so many policies and laws spring from these narratives.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times these narratives are false.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the narratives is that we have a rape culture in our country. Well, that is so absurd. It's hard to say those words without laughing. And I say that because look at the crime statistics for rape.
Mm-hmm. They
have dropped dramatically since the 1980s. I
mean,
it's just gone down. It's plummeted every year since the 1980s. And, we are, of course there are still rapes.
Yeah.
But no, we are not a rape culture.
We're not.
It's absurd to even say that. So that's just, an example of the inflammatory terminology
and bias
and bias that people have an agenda
mm-hmm.
that are trying to figure out how to send more people to jail. And they do it by expanding definitions. For example, rape used to require force. Well, now it's only an issue of consent. Also
assault.
The issue is whether consent was given.
And assault was actually a rape, an actual penetration. Now touching is assault. Anything is, we have a culture. If we have a culture of anything, Everett, it's a culture of misandry. And a lot of people are unfamiliar with that term, but people would call me a misogynist, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm not a misogynist. I'm a law-abiding male, and I intend to be a male. Yes, I have bass in my voice because God gave me bass in my voice. I am not a woman. I am not feminine, and I'm not interested in acting like a girl. Or a woman, or being, feminine. We have so many issues like in the Supreme Court next week. As you well know, a case is being argued about a man who says he's transgender. I don't know if he had the operation or not, but he wants to be called a woman. He wants to act like a woman, dress like a woman, and be a professional. I say this about that. When you're running a business and it's profit and loss, these people can go out and start their own businesses, do whatever the hell they want in their own business. But when a business owner has capital on the line, risk, has payroll to meet, he cannot have people acting like Klinger on MASH in his shop, because we have codes of conduct. And professional codes of conduct. And you cannot have people just doing whatever the hell they want because they've decided that this is what they're going to do. Be disruptive, be special. And, and when these women cry rape, they take away from people who are really raped, women who are really raped. And if I look at a guy like what's his name, Mike Tyson, and I looked at the way his attorneys portrayed him, and I'm going, wait a minute, they just set this guy up as a rapist. He's strong and he's a man and he's very manly and he's very physical. Yeah, he's all those things, but he's not a rapist. This woman went to his room voluntarily at 2:00 in the morning on a booty call. I mean, she wasn't going up there to sit and drink tea or a glass of wine with Mike Tyson or any man.
Right. So I'm willing to bet most of your listeners are not aware of a survey that we did several years ago. We did a national telephone survey. We asked people, have you ever been falsely accused?
Of rape?
Specifically falsely accused of sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse.
Okay.
And the numbers came back. It stunned me. The numbers came back. 1 in 10 people said they had been falsely accused of sexual assault, domestic violence, or child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers just hit me so hard. I thought, maybe there's just a quirk with this particular survey. It was, I think we did it in May. So,
yeah.
So we did the identical survey 3 months later,
right?
Just to see, were these good numbers? Well, the numbers came back the same. Almost 1 in 10 people said they had been falsely accused.
Right.
So think about, next time you're at the mall or next time you're walking down the street, look around you. Well, probably 1 in 10, maybe more, of people you're looking at on the street have been falsely accused. And we're in a society where there's no requirement for corroboration. There's no requirement for physical evidence or a witness. So some of these people literally do go to jail, like Brian Banks, and many of these people are in jail right now as we speak.
Well, Everett, what did Hillary Clinton say? We have to believe what the woman says, unless it's my husband, Bill. Unless it's about my husband, Bill. But we have to always believe the woman. I couldn't believe these statements. Women lie out of spite. I was in a very contemptuous divorce, and my wife, knowing my background, knew that if the police came to our door, that they would come not only they would come armed to aggressively deal with me, right? And she tried everything in her power to get me to give her a reason to call the police. I mean, and women do that. In fact, I remember talking to a lady who was a sergeant at one of the police stations. And she said, in these domestic violence cases, if the women would just get out of their men's face and out of the way when a guy's trying to get away from them, there would not be any domestic violence incidents. I mean, it's amazing.
Right.
What these women do. So go ahead.
Yeah. So there's another, we've been talking about corruption in the criminal justice system, and I'm going to tell you about another piece of this that you and I have not discussed before.
Okay.
There are groups that are actually trying to corrupt the investigative process. And the way they are trying to corrupt those investigations is by training these investigators, and these are the actual words: start by believing. In other words, presume that the complainant is being completely truthful, and presume that the chief suspect, in fact, truly is guilty. And then once you've made that initial assumption, go about collecting evidence that will support your hunch, and disregard evidence that might disprove your hunch. Not only that, the start by believing people, they tell the investigators to sort of tweak the report to make it sound like the sexual encounter was non-consensual. Now, if that's not fraudulent, I don't know what is.
Excuse me, but the that is true, but the issue is, for me, that's the way liberals, Democrats have always been. I just don't see them as being very fair people, very honest or honorable people. I grew up during the anti-war movement and the civil rights movement. And these white people, to me, were so disingenuous. They were so dishonest. They were so condescending and parental. And if you didn't believe what they believed, like, police abuse is rampant. Well, yeah, I've had my share of police abuse and police misconduct, but I don't think that all cops are bad cops. I don't think that that when a cop shows up at my door that he's necessarily going to be a bad cop because I'm a black man in America. But that's the kind of thinking that and the brainwashing that is going on and the propaganda that is going on. Because if you tell the same lies loud enough and long enough, people believe them. And that's what the left has done. That's what Democrats do. I'm going to do a segment a little later on Nancy Pelosi saying that, what's his name? Adam Schiff's parody on Donald Trump's conversation with the Ukrainian president is true. It's a lie. Everything in the parody is a lie. And she sat there on national television with George Stephanopoulos and said it's true. How can you have any faith or any credibility in these people? They lie. They will lie on you if you are not on their team.
So, Charles, have you ever heard the phrase war on truth?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. Both liberals and conservatives agree that there are people who are engaged in a war on truth. And I believe it's true. I think there are people who believe that there really is not such a thing as objective truth. Truth is whatever you subjectively think it is, or what your emotions are, whatever you happen to believe. Well, this is absolutely devastating to the notion of justice, because justice is all about uncovering the truth. And, for example, we're having this dispute in Washington, D.C. about the so-called whistleblower on President Trump. And, in a court of law, you're not allowed to use what's called hearsay evidence, because that type of evidence does not have credibility. So, but, that's just an example of the kind of rules that, not allowing hearsay evidence. That's like an example of the rules that are used in a court of law to try our very best to reach the truth, whether the accusation is truthful or not.
Right.
And so, so it's just truly sad. We have people that are trying to undo that notion of truth and turn it into whatever you happen to believe that day.
Or whatever I need to do to accomplish my goal, which is to be right. and these folks constantly lie, and they what do they have? Prosecutorial, what do they call it? Prosecutorial
misconduct?
No, they can't be prosecuted. It's called prosecutorial immunity. Yeah, immunity.
Yeah.
And
it's called absolute immunity. Yes, you're right.
And we have to stop that. I mean, these people have to play by the game like everyone else.
Right.
I got falsely accused of a crime, charged with a felony, battery, assault, and theft. And let me just say this, Everett, nothing happened. No,
right.
There was no theft. There was no battery. There was no assault. So when we go into court, the state's attorney looks at the evidence. She looks at my car where this white man had hit my car with a cane, and she threw the case out in like 10 minutes. It didn't even take them 10 minutes to negotiate that she was not going to prosecute the case because they were lying. And the man had two eyewitnesses who were lying. And they actually thought that they were going to come to court and tell a lie to the court because I was black, and they were going to convict me based on the lie of these three people, when the man had no bruises, no marks, no contusions, and he had the cane that I supposedly had stolen from him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, again, this is why we need extensive reforms to our criminal justice system. And of course, we do have an election Well, there'll be a small election in about a month in early November, but the big election, of course, will be a year after that. And I hope your listeners will become actively involved. I mean, politicians truly do pay attention to public outrage. You may have heard we have a new law called the First Step Act out of Congress. That happened because of public outrage. But the First Step Act is just that. It's only the first step. We need to do a whole lot more to make this criminal justice system accountable and fair. Right now, prosecutors are largely unaccountable.
And the question is, why? Are they above the law? Are they above the law? And it appears that they are, because they can do what they want to do and ruin lives and become judges. It's just the most amazing thing to me. Like this judge had told me I was lying after I said two things, and both things that I said was true. But because I'm not an attorney, I guess, and because I'm a black man in America, I'm a big black man who's not, kowtowing or tongue-tied and look people directly in the eye. I mean, there was this nonverbal power struggle going on between the judge and myself. She ended up writing an order. You'll appreciate this. She asked for a substitution of judge because she was so unfair. I know I wouldn't get a fair hearing, and everyone, even judges, told me I would not get a fair hearing before this woman. I got a substitution of judge, and she tried to fight me on substituting her, even though, check this out, even though the law that I cited to her said it's a right. You don't have a decision in this. I asked for it. You have to grant my motion. And you made me submit a written motion, and I did that. And the procedure is I grant your motion, not why did you submit this late? That's not in the statute. There's nothing about timing of the motion. But she tried to make those issues, and I wouldn't take the bait, because if I had addressed that, well, why did you file a motion late, Mr. Butler? Why, no, Judge, you don't get it. The statute says if I ask for a substitution of judge, I get the substitution of judge. It doesn't have anything to do with timing or what you think or how you feel, because I know that you partied with the opposing counsel. You just told me before you started the proceeding that you and the opposing counsel were partying together. You're friends, and you're going to make sure that he takes my money regardless of what he did not do for me. Anyway, it's right. That's what's driving me, this fire in my belly, to get in law school in January. Because I want to be able to go into court and face these judges down, because they're not above the law, because they wear a black robe. They're not special. They put on their pants and dresses the same way we do, one leg at a time. And they've taken an oath. They are public servants. They get paid by us to do a job. And they're just so damn corrupt, man. The oath of office means nothing to these people.
Well, I very much wish you well in your legal studies, and there's others like you who have been through the ringer. I'll mention another person, Jeffrey Deskovich, who was falsely accused when I think he was 15 or 16 as a teenager. He was falsely accused of rape. This was in New York State. He was sent to prison in New York State. He was in solitary confinement for a long time. He eventually was released because the DNA proved he was not the perpetrator.
Right.
All right. So Jeffrey Deskovich has just now completed his law degree from Pace University in New York. He's now out there telling people about the problem of wrongful conviction. So we need more people like you and Jeffrey Deskovich who are speaking truth to power, because the corruption is rampant, and it starts with the prosecutors.
And we need your organization, because you guys do the homework, you provide the background, and folks, you need to go to this website. It's their website is www INTL for international abbreviation, wrongfulconvictionday.org. Now, what's your other website for the Center for Prosecutor Integrity?
Okay, yeah, the website you gave is for the group that's been organizing these events around the country, and that's a different group.
Right.
And we of course support them. Our website is www.prosecuterintegrity.org. Again, prosecuterintegrity.org.
Well, that's wonderful, and I tell you, we need organizations like yours that to provide the background, the data, the support to point out where these prosecutors are totally above the law, abusing the criminal justice system. And like I said, it's just not criminal; it's the civil side too.
Yep. Yeah. The corruption is pretty widespread. Some people use the term the deep state. I see this stuff going on in the FBI and the Department of Justice. So, yeah, there's a lot of bias, and we have a lot of work to do to clean up our system.
Hello? Yeah, we do.
Yes.
So, there's a book out called Biased. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, I'm not.
It was a bestseller. It was a bestseller in New York Times bestseller. And it was really, it's really a good book. And I wish that I had read the book or had the book before I had submitted my complaint on this judge, because I went to the Judicial Inquiry Board on this judge. And of course they tried to whitewash it, because that's what they do. But I made my point to this judge that she's not above the law. And she didn't appreciate that at all. But it's on her record. It's going to follow her that she was called out. This book is called Biased: Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We See, Think, and Do. It's a great book. It's by a lady named Jennifer Eberhardt. Great book. You'd really enjoy it. Hello?
Well, Charles, it's been a pleasure to chat with you this afternoon.
It certainly
and I
has.
hope we'll have a chance to continue this conversation. And there is so much to discuss about how our criminal justice system has gone wrong, about false allegations, especially in the area of sexual assault and domestic violence.
Yeah, and it's really a shame that we're not talking about this more. We could talk about the young man, the young swimmer from Stanford, and what happened to him and what happened to the judge in that case, because he didn't rule the way that liberals thought he should rule. Man, when you're a guy out here, it's like you said in the write-up, this system is skewed, is biased for women, not against women. It takes it. That's why I'm surprised that police officer was convicted yesterday.
Yes, right. Yes, I read about that.
Yeah, she got 10 years, but as a police officer, that's pretty strict. That's a pretty heavy sentence for a police officer, even to be charged, or a former police officer. But look, Everett, thank you so much. Thank you for the work you do, sir. We appreciate you calling in. Thank you. We got to get you back.
All right. All the best to you. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mr. Everett Bartlett from the Center for Prosecutor Integrity. We're going to run a commercial, and we'll get back. We're going to talk about the candidate to challenge Nancy Pelosi. She's tough, man. She's good looking too, I tell you that. And she's written a book about relationships, so she could relate.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. My Pillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. My Pillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. My Pillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code Red State. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code Red State. Put sleepless nights behind you with My Pillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Concern to every single American. Now, we've been hearing all these stories about sanctuary cities that...
You can now find us on the Amazon Echo and Echo Dot, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, and we also have the phone apps in the App Store for your particular phone. And just in case we activated your Echo Dot, Alexa, stop.
Alexa, stop. Okay. Hey, folks, we all know someone out there who has cancer and who may contract cancer. Breast cancer affects 1 in every 8 women. There are several things you should know about cancer. Can happen to you. Being a woman alone puts you at higher risk. Other factors are your age, your weight, lifestyle. Action pays off. Regular doctor visits, mammograms could save your life. And guys, we're having higher incidence of men having breast cancer too. Breast cancer can be devastating, both physically, psychologically, and financially. To offset some of these burdens, we have a insurance plan called Breast Cancer, the Blue Ribbon Breast Cancer Plan. And it provides up to $250,000 of aggregate benefit, policy benefit. So what do we cover? We cover hospital stays, confinement, surgery, outpatient facility care, traveling for you and your loved ones, drugs, medicines, private duty nursing, family member lodging if you're somewhere and your relatives have to stay in a hotel or motel, $50 a day. So, and all for less than $1 a day. My policy costs about $22 a month. How can you beat that for this kind of coverage? So, call us at 877-659-6122. That's 877-659-6126. 877-659-6126. Talk to my team. We'll give you a quote and help you to defer some of the psychological, physical, and finance burden of contracting cancer. That's the long version. Okay, let's get back to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi went on television a couple of days ago. And she had the nerve to say that Adam Schiff's parody was truthful. Now, I've played Adam Schiff's parody for you before, and we know that he's lying. I mean, just blatantly lying. The guy's like, well, I'm going to tell you 9 times that, you have to dig up some dirt. So let's play Adam Schiff talking about what Donald Trump was supposed to have said. And we've all read the transcript dozens of times, so we know what the president said and didn't say. And it was nothing that Adam Schiff said. So let's play this real quick. Let's see, where are we? Here we go.
President Zelensky, eager to establish himself at home as a friend of the president of the most powerful nation on earth, had at least two objectives: get a meeting with the president and get more military help. And so what happened on that call? Zelensky begins by ingratiating himself, and he tries to enlist the support of the president. He expresses his interest in meeting with the president and says his country wants to acquire more weapons from us to defend itself. And what is the president's response? Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown. Shorn of its rambling character and in not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, and not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
Okay. So let's look at what the president really said. I'm going to read from the transcript. And those of you who are out there on Facebook and YouTube, I'm holding up a copy of the transcript. Okay? Hold up a copy of the transcript. So he's right. The President Zelensky tried to ingratiate himself to President Trump, telling him that he copied his strategy and his skills to win his election. Okay. And President Trump says that, he says, let's see, we expect much more. This is an exact quote from the president. Much more than European countries are doing. They should be helping you more than they are. Germany does almost nothing for you. All they do is talk, and I think it's something that you should really ask them about. When I was speaking to Angela Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything. A lot of European countries are the same way, so I think it's something you want to look at. But the United States has been very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessary, because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very good to the Ukraine. Okay. So he says it's that we've been good to Ukraine, and he said, I would say it's reciprocal. It's reciprocal. I wouldn't say it's reciprocal. Okay. It's not reciprocated, but he says, and Zelensky goes on to say, what? You're absolutely right. This is Zelensky. You're absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1000%. I can tell you the following. And he goes on to talk about his talks with Angela Merkel in the UK, and that they're not doing anything. And he concludes his paragraph by saying, we are ready to continue to cooperate for the next step. Specifically, we're almost ready to buy more Javelins, anti-tank missiles, for those of you who don't know, from the United States for defense purposes. The president then says, I would like you to do us a favor because our country has been through a lot, and the Ukraine knows a lot about it, which is true. And so the president said, I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with the Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike I guess one of your wealthy people owns it, the server. They said Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. And he goes on to say that he really cleaned house, and he's not surrounding himself with those people. He has new people. He has a new ambassador to the United States who's more friendly and going to get things done. She's not corrupt. He's not corrupt like the former ambassador. And the Zelensky is the one who mentions Giuliani, not President Trump. Zelensky says, I will personally tell you that one of your assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani. One of my personal assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we're hoping very much that Mr. Giuliani will be able to travel to the Ukraine, and we will meet once he comes to Ukraine. This is the president talking, president of Ukraine talking. President Trump didn't offer up Giuliani. President Zelensky did. And they go on to say, good, because I heard, Trump says, good, because I heard that you had a prosecutor who was very good and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that. The way they shut your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the attorney general. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he's a very capable guy. Okay. And, you know, it's Zelensky who's doing the talking. There's no quid pro quo here. But, the so-called parody that Schiff did had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the truth. Nothing to do with the truth. President Trump says at the end of the statement, President Trump says, okay, we can work that out, me coming to the Ukraine and visiting with you. So I look forward to seeing you in Washington, maybe in Poland, because I think we're going there, going to be there at that time, talking about the conference, EU conference. Zelensky says, thank you very much, Mr. President. The president says, congratulations on your fantastic job. The fantastic job you've done. The whole world was watching. I'm not sure it was so much of an upset, but congratulations. And Mr. Zelensky says, thank you, Mr. President. Bye-bye. Okay. Now, how does that square with what Schiff said? Schiff lied, just blatantly, out and out lied. And then Nancy Pelosi comes on last night with George Stephanopoulos, and she says, well, what Adam Schiff said is absolutely true. She's lying. Here we go. Listen.
I want the American people to know what that phone call was about. I want them to hear it. So yeah, it's fair. It's sad, but it's using the president's own words. So if
those weren't the president's words. It was an interpretation of the president's words. They're saying he made this up.
He did not make it up.
Schiff. Yeah, he did make it up. I just read to you what the president said. We heard what Adam Schiff said. I just read you the transcript. So he did make it up. Even, George Stephanopoulos had to call out Pelosi on that. He said, hey, yeah, he made it up. But that's what these people do, like Joe Biden. Joe Biden says, I don't know about Hunter's business dealings. We never talked about it. Lie after lie after lie. Then that picture showed up of Joe on the golf course with a Russian gas executive. Here we go.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Let's talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader?
That's not true. He wasn't trying to intimidate a foreign leader. You've heard verbatim quotes from the transcript. There was no intimidation there. In fact, the Ukrainian president came out and said much of the same. We call this by the Democrats a coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. It's a French word. COUPD-ETAT. Coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. What does coup d'etat mean? You hear people throwing around that word. Oh, it's a coup d'etat. It's a coup. It's a, well, wait a minute. What does that mean? Well, let's just go to Merriam-Webster, which I don't like to do anymore because they're so bastardized. They're so politically correct and pop culturized. It's kind of sickening. Used to go to Webster dictionary for the real definition of a word. Now they go, well, in pop culture, N-word is a black person. That never was in the dictionary years ago. Okay, so what is a coup d'etat? Definition, quickly. A sudden, divisive exercise of force in politics, especially the violent overthrow or alteration of an existing government. Wow. How about that? That's what a coup d'etat is. That's what they're trying to do here. Overthrow our government. We can't let them do it. We're not going to let them do it. A coup d'etat. Not going to happen. Not in America. Not in our lifetime anyway. That's why they want to take our guns. What did Joe Biden say, the other day? He says, well, we're going to either buy back your gun or we'll make you register with the ATF. And when we get ready to confiscate your guns, you'll be in the database and we're getting those guns when we decide to get those guns because of some little crazy boys out here randomly shooting people. I'm so sick of these people. I'm so sick of liberals. But anyway, hey, look, we'll be back tomorrow, Freedom Friday. Got a lot of stuff going on, of course, as usual. And you'll have to tune in. Check us out because we'll be here and we'll be playing what we do and having great guests. Okay? Thank you. Take care. Tune in tomorrow. Same time, same place.
You see that black boy over there running scared? His old man in a bottle.